Well, thank you all for coming. I appreciate this nice crisp morning here. So this kind of sets off the final stage of this Connect South Dakota project. And first of all, thank you, Governor Kristi Noem, for coming. Thank you, Commissioner Carr, for making it all the way here. You win the commute challenge of this. So, this, like I said, this represents the final stage of the Connect South Dakota grant. This area in and around Rowena, we did rural Renner, and then locations just north of Sioux Falls in and around the new Veterans Cemetery. So we connected that area as well, the Andes Acres area. So, and just kind of wanted to say that I appreciate your commitment to rural America. I appreciate your commitment to South Dakota. Without federal and state programs like Connect South Dakota, ACAM, RDOF, USF Reconnect, Universal Service Fund, we would not be able to properly serve rural America and rural customers. I understand those acronyms and literally the alphabet soup that I just served you doesn't mean a lot to you, or may not mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to us. These programs support and make broadband available and affordable. Also wanted to say thanks to our employees that helped put this together, that helped set up the network and support it. Want to thank our vendors, Calix, Dave's Construction, SDN Communications, and FAR Technologies. We wouldn't be able to get it in the ground. We wouldn't be able to put light over it. We wouldn't be able to get out to the world without those vendors. So, Alliance started putting fiber back in 2006. We were fully fiber to the home in 2014, and since 2016 we put in 650 miles of fiber. This project alone was 500 miles of fiber and connected over 170 locations. When this project is completed, which it will be within weeks, we will have connected 230 locations through the Connect South Dakota program, and we plan to do much, much more. In fact, we already have a pending application in for next year, and working on staking for years to come, right? Of course, the engineering consultants say yes. So, the connections like this include, there was a family of 5 north of Garrettson that had to drive into Garrettson in order to do homework and even update their iPhone because they couldn't do it over the Wi-Fi that they had. Jessica, who lives just down the street, she bought an internet-connected exercise bike and really couldn't use it. She was literally pedaling faster than her internet connection would allow. Kudos to you. And then, obviously, this event center. I talked to him this morning, and he said he's been waiting 8 years. So I apologized and said, we're finally here. It's better late than never. But he now can offer Wi-Fi access to his customers and to the people that come here. So, I can go on and on about the benefits of broadband, but I want to say thank you to Governor Noem. I want to say thank you to Commissioner Carr. Thank you to your staff for supporting us. And, Alliance does not stop at the city limits, and we're not allergic to gravel roads. So we need the support, and we need the help when we get to these areas. We've been putting in telecom and internet connections for over 60 years. We've put in millions of dollars and millions of hours connecting customers and members. And it's nice to see that this commitment is matched by the support of these programs. So thank you again. Your support for these programs do, in fact, promote growth in these areas for both current and future residents. Thank you for connecting the unconnected. So with that, I'll hand it over.
You've got all the expertise. I'm going to speak a little bit before Brendan does. Thank you, Ross, so much for having us and for letting us be here. I think most of you know a lot about my background, but what you probably don't know about me is that I am incredibly technology challenged. For me, I do not have a gifting in making technology work very well. That's why I rely so heavily on staying connected to those who do. When I became governor, I realized how much the state had infrastructure in certain areas and how much we lacked it in other areas. You could get just a couple of miles out of pretty populated areas of the state of South Dakota and completely lose high-speed internet access, broadband service, and that was challenging for us. It was challenging for us to recruit people to live in those areas. It was challenging for us to educate our kids. And then we were really looking to streamline healthcare services, mental health services in areas to the entire state of South Dakota, and could not do that without high-speed internet access. So it became one of my #1 goals when I became governor to get the entire state of South Dakota connected, to have the build out in the infrastructure in every single part of the state so that people could work from home if they wanted to, work from our smallest towns as well as they can our larger populated areas, educate their kids, do their homework at home, but then also get services that so many people in a state like South Dakota need as far as healthcare and other mental health services, other ability to market their grain, sell their cattle, tell their story about their small family business that they have in their little town. We just did not have that ability as several years ago. The first year we came to the legislative session, I asked for $10 million in state funds to match with private companies and federal dollars to do build out. And it was quite a debate. I think if most of you remember, it was challenging to get the legislature to support that original $10 million. This year I was thrilled that we committed over $100 million total from the state side to partnering with federal dollars and private companies to do a build out to get the entire state connected. And it was not the challenging debate that we had previously had, because I think the story was really told. People recognized how important it was, and dealing with COVID-19 showed us that we could deliver services, educate people, build businesses in small towns, and still keep our economy going. South Dakota is growing like crazy. We have thousands of people that are moving to this state, hundreds and hundreds of businesses that are. Getting this kind of connection in every single part of our state is incredibly important, and the fact that we're putting this kind of resources into it and partnering with all of you to make sure that we have high-speed internet access, that we have broadband services, is incredibly important. And I think this type of commitment is going to go a long ways into setting us up for success into the future. So I want to thank Brendan for coming and being a part of discussing with us the FCC and their commitment to how these funds will be distributed at the federal level, making sure that we're prioritized as well as other areas, and that smaller companies are prioritized as larger companies are. And then also, so far in the state of South Dakota, we've spent this year over $30 million in CARES Act funding to this project already. We've spent, since I've been governor, a little bit less than $50 million in partnering with federal dollars and private companies. So we're committed, and we're all in, not just with taxpayer money, but also with some of the extra dollars we've gotten from the federal government to partner with you and to partner with the federal government to continue this build out going forward. So I'm thrilled he's here talking about projects like Alliance has brought. We have people and have heard incredible stories of for years they've needed this kind of service and they just didn't have the ability to access it for their families. And it's really changed their way of life. It's changed their ability to live and where they want to live and work from there. So many times over the years people have had to work where they need to work, but this whole pandemic and this last couple of years have taught us that we can live where we enjoy a quality of life and still do our work from our smallest communities if that's where we choose to raise our kids and be successful. So I'm excited about this type of a project. I'm excited about Jessica getting to ride her bike. kind of a big fan of my Peloton too, so getting to use that is fantastic, and I think that those stories make a world of difference for people to realize the reality of what we saw out here with these boxes and installation and equipment, what it can actually do every single day to improve your quality of life. So thanks for being here, and thank you for your commitment. This is something that I think South Dakota, again, is an example to the nation in how quickly we're building up this kind of infrastructure. When we decided to do it, it was all hands on deck, and you all partnered in ways that were extremely nimble and flexible to make sure that we were capitalizing on the opportunity that we had to change what South Dakota will look like for decades to come. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brendan and let him share a little bit about us, about the priority that the FCC has in making sure they're helping facilitate this as well. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We
Thanks
appreciate
so
it.
much. Well, thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership. I think we're all very, very lucky to have the governor leading on telecom policy in South Dakota. You know, right when she came in office, she made clear that this was going to be a top priority for her. And I can't tell you from a perspective of Washington, D.C., what a difference that makes when you have someone out here that really prioritizes internet connectivity. And what the governor has put together, this partnership between leveraging state dollars and federal dollars, has created a nationwide model that I think other governors should be looking to get the job done of fully bridging the digital divide. What's unique about Governor Noem is she really understands the power of connectivity and what it means for rural communities. I was here about a year or so ago with the governor, not quite the governor at that point when I met you last time, but she was up a telecom tower with a crew from Vicor based in Sioux Falls. These are the tower climbers that actually construct all of these towers and hang the antennas. And she beat me up to the top of the tower, so she has a very strong commitment to this type of work, and then had the chance to see some fiber splicing here today. But the power of this thing is really hard to describe. I was outside of Parker, South Dakota just yesterday and met a family, Cynthia and John. Cynthia is a lawyer and John is a child psychologist. And last year they were able to move back to her family's homestead outside of Parker, and they were able to do that for one reason. They had just got a high-speed internet connection built out to their home. And so now she's able to do Zoom video calls to represent clients in courts across the state. Her husband can use the internet now for the work that he does as a child psychologist. And so they had the ability to make the right decision for their family to move back to a rural part of the community. And that's not an option that people had for decades before this. We saw this, brain drain out of rural communities. And now you have an option, and that's the power of an internet connection. We spent time with Lynn and his son Riley, who run a dairy farm. And it's the same thing there. They have precision ag that they're running, and they use internet connectivity for all sorts of operations on the farm. They have what I describe as basically Fitbit for cattle. It's a little tag that goes on the dairy cow, and it monitors its movement, all kinds of data that it pulls, and it enables them to increase productivity. They've basically doubled the amount of milk production they're getting out of their dairy cows from the use of this connectivity. We see the same thing in precision agriculture. Right now, the tractors, combines, sprayers, they're effectively mini data centers. They are pulling an enormous amount of data off the field. And not too long ago, what you would see was you had farmers, they would have these USB thumb drives, and they would be stuck in old coffee cups on their desks, because they didn't have the internet connectivity to take the data off of that USB drive and send it back to what we call the cloud, where the data can be crunched and put into productive use. But now we're bridging that divide. That data is getting uploaded, and they're able to use 80% less herbicide on their sprayers. They can, precision target it thanks to the way they're crunching this data. They're getting more productivity out of their crops. So whether you look at it from, the lawyer and the child psychologist, the dairy farm, precision ag, having that internet connection makes a tremendous difference. And the reason we're here really is the work that the governor's done. She was able to dislodge early on significant funding out of the South Dakota legislature. I don't know a lot about South Dakota politics, but I've been told that it is very difficult to dislodge money out of the legislature, even for very good purposes like this. But because she did that, we were then able to leverage federal dollars. The whole package that's being put together now is, maybe roughly $100 million for this tranche. But when you step back and look at all of the federal dollars that we're now bringing to South Dakota because of the partnership that's been created, it's about $1 billion over the next 10 years that's going to come to South Dakota through a range of different federal initiatives, partnering with state initiatives. And that should be enough money to finally get the job fully done. And we are going to stay committed to doing that. The governor also mentioned telehealth. We were at Avera eCare yesterday. That has become so important during COVID-19. We don't want people going to a physical hospital unless they need to be there, and telehealth played a critical role. We were able to free up about $2 million to bring to South Dakota to further bolster the delivery of telehealth, and we were excited to talk about that. So from telehealth to precision ag, educating our kids, even riding a Peloton bike, there's tremendous opportunity that comes when you get the power of the connection. And it's so great, from my perspective in DC, to have a state leader like Governor Noem that just gets the power of this and has leaned in, and sometimes it's duct tape and baling wire maybe to get the job done, getting the funding out of the legislature to do this, but we're headed in the right direction right now. We just need to keep going until we get every single community connected. So really appreciate the chance to get back out here. I think there's no better way to do a job in Washington, D.C. than to spend as little time inside the Beltway as possible. You learn a lot more out here than you do in there, so it's good to spend some more time with you all, and great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm open for questions. If not, we can listen to Jessica talk about her exercise and the chicken story. So, if you want to come up and tell about your experience, you sure can.
Come on up, Jessica. That'd be great.
They don't want to hear me talk. So.
Thank you. Yes, we have lived here for 10 years, and we're a blended family. So we have 8 kids, and 6 of them are in the house pretty much full-time. My daughter, we are graduating. She's graduating this year, so it was just in time. But we love our area. We love where we live, and I'm not a city girl, and I'm an Iowa farm girl. So living out in the country was our number one priority. It was our number one choice. And we kind of thought, well, we'll get by with the internet that we had, which was terrible. And it was really rough. I'm not kidding, with 6 kids. So, just to have this opportunity to have South Dakota grant us that, I can't tell you how happy we were when we got the letter, I think from Paul, or an email, I think. But just to have that, to know that now we can live life normally. My kids had to go during the pandemic, they had to go into town and sit in the parking lots to be able to do their homework, and my daughter Brielle had to redo a chemistry test because it didn't get uploaded. And I run a small business out of my home, so a lot of different things that I don't think people in the city understand what we kind of had to hurdle against. So, but yeah, we are very happy, very excited. And yesterday, when we got our internet set up and we actually had Wi-Fi, I named it the Brady Bunch. So if you see that, that is the name. I'm not giving you the password, but so my husband and I go, you watch Netflix on the TV in the living room, I'm going to watch Netflix on the TV in the bedroom, and there was no buffering, and we were in heaven. So, and I turned my bike on, and I could see the big screen, and I thought, I had been riding my bike on the app from my phone, so that's how I did it. And so just to see the big screen, I was like, oh my goodness, this is great. So, thank you so much. I truly am so blessed that we live in South Dakota. I mean, I know I'm from Iowa, but I will never go back. So thank you.
Open up for questions.
What is it about this area that you needed the assistance to get out of your topography or just sparsity?
Yeah, if you go about a quarter mile down that road and look out into the pasture, you'll see exactly why we needed assistance to come here. We're about 3 miles north. We always have been Alliance, and a couple years ago we did the Iverson Crossing area, which is a little more of a development. But to get across the road and really get into some of this area, they're digging right here. But this is the corner of the project, and get to go all the way over to the Iowa, and it really is a rocky terrain, and there's a reason it was difficult.
So it's mainly cost to put it in.
It is
You need
cost.
a partnership in order to do it because it's too expensive for them to cash flow doing it on their own.
Exactly.
So they need a partnership with the state or the federal government to actually make the investment into the infrastructure to make it work.
Exactly.
Yeah, depending on the terrain, it can cost $30,000 to $50,000 to run a mile of fiber. When you think about communities that are one household per mile, you're never going to be able to pencil that out as a private sector matter. So you're going to need the support of federal or state dollars to justify and get that job done.
For both construction and for the ongoing expense to maintain the network. So.
I think what was shocking for me when I first became governor was just seeing the amount of areas in the state that were right next to population centers that didn't have internet access. I mean, you could just go less than 5 miles outside of Sioux Falls, Pierre, Watertown, and have people who had no option for any kind of service to their homes and their properties. And then what was remarkable is once you connected people, how their property values increased. I mean, all of their property values, their property taxes, all of that, added value to where they live and actually gave them a better opportunity to be more financially stable and to support that local community too because of this new asset that they had of being connected to the internet.
Talk to any realtor now and it's probably number 2 or number 3 question people ask.
Yes, do you have internet access and is it good and strong and reliable?
Location, internet connection.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Perfect.
But we're getting such incredible stories from small towns of people that are moving from California, New York, everywhere to our towns of 100, 200 people. They can work from anywhere and they're choosing that way of life now, but they have to have the internet in order to make it happen. Question back there?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on broadband becoming a universal service? Been talked about a lot in the last couple of months, like electricity was and water was, on both the state or federal level.
There's 2 issues there. One is, how valuable, how much of a need is there for this service? And I would say, of course, it is right up there with, roads and, bridges and other utilities. The challenge is what is the right policy to spur the build out of that infrastructure. And so I think some of the heavier handed approaches of regulating the internet like a utility are going to end up depressing investment and build out. But of course, this is, we need to treat this as valuable as a utility, but with the regulatory model that's going to incentivize this unique investment, including getting competition out there.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
well.
You get a gold star, Ross. Good job.
All right, first one of the day.
Yeah.